This episode of the podcast is sponsored by my book, We Stand on the Shoulders of Titans, Amnesia. So, last time we spoke about the male archetypes, what type of expectations you can have with sons without proper fathers, proper father figures, properly understanding the masculinity that they're supposed to be embracing. But the same goes the other way around when it comes to women and mothers. Because nowadays, if you think about mothers, from my own experience, even from experience from others, more often than not, the mother is more the person that is always occupied instead of actually taking care of like what it means to be a woman. Of course, during the important stages, like the period and stuff, she'll be there, but not really for the forming phases. What's really important for a woman. So, for example, if you think about the archetype that we spoke about last week, we had, for example, the unformed. The same goes into the female side. I have a friend whose mother died when she was 4. I don't know her like super good or anything, like mostly just mutual friends, right? But over the years, like she has never really understood what it means to be like a proper forming mother or a proper woman for that matter. So more often than not, she's just going between types of men that kind of attract her, but she never really understands like, hey, what am I actually supposed to do? What am I looking for? And what am I supposed to do? It's like there's a disconnect in kind of what she's heading into, and she's always kind of like confused, even in her relationships. She's had a lot of relationships, but it's like every time I hear about her, it's like this confusion. I don't know if you two have like ever met a woman like that just seems to go through life confused, if anything.
I'd say I have.
Yeah, I've met a few women like that. I guess in kind of social clubs where, people who want to meet other people tend to attend. You kind of meet those who are just, they're looking for something, but they don't know what they're looking for. And kind of for like myself, I'm kind of like a vagabond in relationships as well. Sometimes I don't know what I'm looking for, but I guess that can spawn from, not having proper relationships with your parents, or, from abuse in childhood, or it can be various different factors, or you can just get people who just don't know what they're looking for as well. So, I mean, a question for me is why would it boil down to like that archetype, like for somebody not knowing what they were looking for? How would it boil down to that relationship between their parents and themselves?
Well, it goes through multiple philosophies, right? Like one of the oldest ones is Confucianism itself, where there's a strong argument to be made around the family and proper roles within the family. Of course, this can be a very hierarchical problem if you look at South Korea, for example, if you go too far with it. But in other sense, there is truth to it that you need an example. Like, think about language, right? The language we speak. How did we learn the language that we speak? It was from observing our parents. That's how it starts.
You copy your parents and like your extended family as well.
Exactly.
Yeah. But then there's been a case, and I don't know if you guys ever heard of it, but like people who've had head trauma, and then all of a sudden they wake up from like a coma and they know different languages, So
Those are very extreme examples,
yeah,
though.
absolutely. But it makes me wonder: is that like part of the genetics to know language anyway? You know what I mean? Is it and within our programming from when we're born, kind of thing, to
Well,
immediately?
I've heard of this, but I don't think you're going into the actual details because
I mean,
from the cases that I've heard, the people actually did know those languages. You don't just randomly magically know a different language.
Yeah, I've heard of them in fiction, but not like in real life. Unless I see actual proof of it happening, I've got to say that's just a bit of bullshit.
Yeah, like I had one case
Because
where there was a man that got into the hospital and he was like, I don't know which country, but maybe it was American, but like he was native Spanish or something. So his mother tongue was Spanish. And after like an incident, he was only able to speak Spanish. He couldn't speak English anymore.
All right.
Yeah,
Okay.
you could. I mean, you're not. I mean, I'm not gonna like bash my head, wake up from a coma after a week, and suddenly know how to assemble and disassemble a gun.
Exactly.
I've never handled a gun,
Yeah.
or I'm not going to be able to operate a complex piece of machinery just because I banged my head.
Yeah. Like you do need to have some actual experience in order to be able to execute those type of things. Like, for example, as a polyglot, like let's say something happens to my brain, I might just completely be unable to speak all languages and have to switch to Dutch only. That is a real possibility, because then it kind of comes to the very first thing you learn is kind of what sticks. That's at least from the case that I read. Like it was this is a long time ago as well. That bringing it up is quite interesting because it's a long time ago that I read this. But it was a case of someone that went back to his mother tongue and was then completely unable to speak the English language or whatever language it was. I don't really remember the details of this case, but
I mean, that must suck, all of that time wasted.
I mean, it was mostly the children that were confused because he has properly integrated in the country he was in. So the children were actually speaking the language of the nation. So when he suddenly defaulted to his mother tongue, the children got confused because they can't speak the language. So it's that type of case.
I mean, it'd be confusing for everyone. I mean, would they still able to understand it?
I have no idea. I don't know the details. I just remember reading this a long time ago. But
yeah, I think
I
it was
could-
May 2006, from what I'm reading here. I'm just trying to look it up to see what the kind of situation was. But yeah, it's crazy. Like people can, wake up and then all of a sudden not speak languages or.
I mean, I can understand that happening because obviously your brain's a repository for memories. If the memories get wiped out because of an accident, like an injury to the brain, I mean that makes sense. But it's like I can't see the opposite happening because it's like you literally have to insert something in there. It's like like the NPC updates. Thing that it's kind of like that. There has to be some kind of input.
Yeah, I suppose.
Going back to the topic, like when we're talking about the unformed, we're mostly talking about like a woman that kind of raised herself, right? So learning femininity from like magazines, from TikTok, because especially with the next generation, like if you took a look at Gen Z, more often than not, the behavior you see from them, it's like you're watching a TikTok clip. It's like that's their entire personality. Like you see these weird dances in the middle of the street. I'm like, okay, that comes from somewhere.
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the mimicking, right? I guess it starts as a child, obviously, with your parents, and eventually your peers, because peer pressure is definitely a thing, right? So there's a lot of reverse engineering when it comes to someone in her situation without a mother, but with a father who was kind of absent, so to say, where she just had to observe, and that's what it means to be a woman. Whereas with other, like let's say, women that have had a proper mother figure, they just observe from their mother. And then, for example, in my family, like it's like I look at my mother when I look at my little sister nowadays. It's just like they're the same. It's the same thing almost.
Yeah.
Version.
As we said kind of last time, in terms of mimicking, it comes from not just your parents, but the community around you. So
That's
you
what I
learn
said,
your
peer pressure as well.
you definitely learn your values from other people around you. But I mean, do you think that your parents have more influence than your community?
Well, your forming years are the most important, scientifically proven as well. Your forming years are the most important years of your life.
Yeah. So if people don't have that in their kind of younger years, then they're not going to form healthy.
Yeah, like a key example. This is also scientifically proven. Is when the baby after being born never has that skinship contact with the mother. Later in life, it is proven that this person will have difficulty connecting with other people, just because there was never that connection between son and mother or daughter and mother. So it already starts then. Like that's already step one.
Yeah, it's quite interesting that you should say that because like there's people who obviously, maybe not that their mothers were bad mothers, but maybe their mothers went through post traumatic birth kind of thing,
Yeah,
I know what I'm talking about.
Postpartum depression.
Yeah, that's it. Exactly. And they don't, form that bond with their child, and therefore the child grows up a bit more reserved or not able to form healthy kind of relationships or bonding with people. You know what I mean? It would actually be interesting to see some statistics on that to see what, if that was like an actual thing kind of thing.
I mean, we have these statistics on it. Like, there's a lot of research when it goes to connections with the child. Like, even for the father, right? Like, You have it a lot of women where even though the father was there, he never was a good example of what a man should be. Then you have problems with that. Like it's a very long. What we hear most often not is a son tries to look for a woman that is similar to his mother, not physically or like by appearance, but more by behavior. And that's
you're saying that every guy has an Oedipus complex.
Kind of. Not all of them. There's definitely exceptions, but generally speaking, like you go for something that resembles the very warmth that you were given as a child.
Yeah,
that's what we also look for.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand that.
And it's the same the other way around. Women look for a man that gives them the same safety that her father should have given. Especially in current society, both are being kind of abandoned. Like you have both the mother not properly doing their job and the father not doing their job, and that of course has a very severe consequences. So now
that's with what you call it, dual income households. That's
that too. But even without that, like you have a lot of parents, especially from the previous generation, that are extremely selfish. And you see it in millennials too. Like they try to spend more time with their children because they notice the selfishness of their parents. Because let's be real, boomers are extremely selfish, a very selfish generation when you look at the grand scheme of things.
Isn't boomers the greatest generation, or was that a different one?
I mean, this is kind of like a mixture, right?
No, because one of the generations is called the greatest generation. I'm just wondering if it was boomers, because I think it's turned out to be quite ironic if that's the case. It might be a different one though. I don't remember.
The greatest generation. I mean, this is for the Great Depression, no?
Huh?
I'm gonna look it up. The greatest generation, also the GI generation, and the World War II. This is the World War II generation.
This
is before the boomers. Yeah, it's before the boomers.
Okay.
The greatest generation, then you have the silent generation, and then you have the boomers.
Right. Okay. So yeah,
it's silent generation.
Yeah.
Definitely no. Well, you don't hear them, do you?
Pretty much.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, it makes there's no irony in it then that they're not the greatest generation, because I can see, looking back throughout history where things start to get messed up. Like that's where you start to see the cracks, wasn't it? Or maybe that's where they first started forming.
The boomer generation is where the first issue started, and Generation X kind of like took that to a whole different level. And then you have our generation that's basically like we've been given the middle finger and good luck.
Well, yeah, because they don't have to deal with it for much longer, do they?
Yeah, this is something I hear quite often from that generation. Like even my parents, they're like, "I just go get into politics and just do whatever you want." I'm like, "Okay, thank you." It's just basically, you're going to retire. Yeah, that's correct. I have my retirement set up. Yeah, you do. We won't have a retirement because Anyway, back to topic.
Good job. Yeah.
When it comes to copying what your parents see, like a good example is South Korea, obviously. Like one of the archetypes is the optimizer. So this is someone that not only do I know them, this is quite a lot of them in my city, but in South Korea, it's basically the only type of woman you will find. Because you have something called manager moms in South Korea, where from a young age, the mother will be involved with making sure that the child gets fully ready for a test at 18 in order to set him up for life, because that's how South Korea works. You have a test at 18, and that test basically defines the rest of your life, which is obviously really bad, which is one of the reasons for the high suicide rates.
I've just had a thought, because you made me think of helicopter parents.
Similar, yeah.
Yeah, so that's the opposite extreme where someone's too controlling of the kid's life.
Yeah, it's basically the whole life becomes a project. And it's not that the mother doesn't care about the child, but it's quite the opposite. Like she genuinely cares for their children. It's more she's so obsessed with like making sure there's a schedule in an app, and then having cognitive development in like a preschool, then swimming for motor skills, Mandarin lessons for competitive advantage, and then around 6-year-olds they get them tutors for math and reading. Despite like, especially in my country, they're so far ahead of everyone else, but even though they're so far ahead, the mother is so obsessed with numbers, which is kind of like the modern ideology. Everything needs to be measured in numbers. Even right now, like the first thing we're thinking about is a bit philosophy, and the first thing they, for example, ask for is numbers, statistics. It's like, yeah, that's the current societal norm. Like we want numbers on everything. And if you take it to an extreme, and as a mother, that's what you see then. Someone that is completely locked in this is development, these are the studies for development, these are the things you have to do for development, then the child is no longer human. It's a project. And despite the good intentions, she's more obsessed with getting everything for the child than actually being there for the child. And that's something the child will grow up with.
Yeah, so it's like they're not being nurtured correctly.
I mean, they're nurtured in a not necessarily incorrect way, but not in a humane way, I would say. Like if you look at those movies, like futuristic movies, like think about The Matrix, for example, everything has to fit a certain mold, right?
Right.
And they just put you in a tube and you'll enjoy it. And then if you wake up from the tube, then suddenly you realize everything's actually quite chaotic. Because what happens more often than not, especially in South Korea, after those tests and they don't make it into the top 3 universities, for example, the whole world suddenly becomes gray because they failed. And then you have an option, like a lot of them choose the ultimate option, which is to end their lives. But there's also a lot that is completely retreat from society. Like, I know quite a lot of Koreans that, for example, they just do the bare minimum to get around, and for the rest, they're just completely hidden away from everyone so that they don't shame their family.
Right.
It's a very sad life.
Yeah, sounds like an opposite extreme to us.
It's funny because obviously speaking about numbers there as well, like, there's something to be said about the society we have around it in terms of even for the fashion industry, where it's like the perfect face ratio to look, beautiful. I don't know exactly what it is, but that exists. You have to have a perfect ratio of face.
That's just for models, though.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, so, but are you trying to say it's like a perfect ratio for a family or to be a good parent or kid or something? Is that what you're getting at?
No, I'm just referring to numbers in terms of how much emphasis we put on it.
Yeah, but the perfect ratio has nothing to do with numbers. It's just like to become a model, because that's what you're saying right now. Like in order to become a model, you have these people that do the perfect ratio to see, like, do you have the right facial shape, the right angles? Because in order for them to make good pictures of you and for the pictures to make as little effort as possible without Photoshop and stuff like that, they're gonna look for people that are easy to take pictures of.
Yeah,
that's a perfect ratio.
And even then, you have to go through a very, very strict. These people take over your life, so
but I mean,
you have to dedicate yourself to it.
That's a job. Like it's
numbers.
No, it has nothing to do with numbers. It's just it's a job.
Okay.
Like becoming a model, like that's a choice. Like I actually have a friend that was a model, and the way he dresses himself and the way he shows himself, like I can tell, like this guy knows fashion, knows how to present himself, and knows how to behave around the camera. Like, this is a job, right? Like if you sign up to be a football player, then your entire life is going to be controlled, right? Like you need to be good at dribbling, shooting. You need all these skill sets, and they're gonna make you be capable of doing that skill set, right?
Yeah.
That's a choice. Like when it comes to a job, like when I speak of metrics, I talk about science, right? Things that have to be measured within scientific documents and have to be measured within, like, to think about GDP, the magical number. This is something that every single government is addicted to, despite the fact it means absolutely fuck all. It just means how much can you milk your population before they collapse? Because that's what we're doing right now. We're milking our population to make magical number go up, and then when it doesn't go up anymore, panic.
Is this GDP? Is this the magic GDP?
Yeah, it is. But that's like the optimizer, right? That's the Archer for the optimizer. Like a woman that is so locked in on everything needs to be measured. Not necessarily a bad thing, but in the long term, obviously, if you think about the type of children they grow up with, like South Korea is the ultimate end of that conclusion, right?
Right. Okay. But just to be clear on that then can the male also exist of that that archetype, the optimizer? Or...
Yeah, we had already the male archetype for that.
Right. Okay.
I guess we need to bring up the archetypes from last time first.
Yeah, just to remind myself. as well.
So just quickly, right? So you have the proper role for a man is the protector, right? Like with the woman is the former, and with the man is the protector. Like generally speaking, a man has a responsibility of protecting, right? Then when a man doesn't have a proper masculine figure, he starts looking for that, and you have something like the predator. And the predator is someone who never really had that masculine stability within his family, so he looks for that stability elsewhere. And then you have someone that predates on like hierarchical structures, goes to crime, stuff like that, right? Like there's a very high correlation between a son without a father and criminal activity. This is scientifically proven. Like in my country, we have the stats as well. Like there's been a lot of research in the University of Amsterdam where there is a very strong relation between that. And in the opposite end of that, there's a woman for as well, but we haven't really spoken about her yet. We'll talk about it later. Beyond that, you have the unformed. So that's the one we just spoke about. And the unformed is just a man who never really had either the masculine presence or the feminine presence, and he kind of just had to absorb from around him and basically look through life in that lens, which obviously is also very problematic because then you're kind of on your own, right? Because now you have to look for basically every single archetype in your own type of environment. That's the informed. Then you have the degenerate. That is let's say, the person who goons all day, looks at like an animation about a loving family or like a belonging, and he just looks at the characters that he likes, goons to it, and calls it a day, right? Similar with video games or movies, doesn't really matter. Like you have the same with women as well, we'll talk about it later. That's the degenerate. Then you have the clown. The clown is just the one who goes into the absurdity of things. So he's the guy like all 420, all of that, like I do drugs and look at me, I'm so cool, type of stuff. He just makes a joke out of everything because he never wants to look at what reality actually is, so he looks away. And the way to look away is to turn everything into a joke. And obviously, when everything becomes a joke, you do need to stay sane. In order to stay sane, they more often not take drugs.
I feel very attacked right now, except for the drug part.
Okay.
I mean,
I was the guy who just fundamentally passive, who just waits for like an ideology to capture him. This is the guy who basically sits around and just is the perfect recruit for a cult or a terrorist cell or criminal gang, right? These are guys that are just completely absent and they need purpose, and once they find purpose, that's what they go for.
Well, that's a lot of woke people, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. That's where they fit in. You have the White Knight as well, like it's a combination. Because the White Knight is quite easy, right? It's the modern Graculus, like the little Greek, but now the little European. The guy who speaks the perfect language but doesn't actually want to do anything. He just wants the performance without being actually invested in doing something about it. So it's the unformed, the predator, the White Knight, the passive, the degenerate, the clown, the golem, the ghost. Yeah, that's the one I forgot. The ghost is the one that just completely retreats and just watches anime or plays games 16 hours per day and just wants nothing to do with life. It's similar to the hikikomori phenomenon, but we have them in Europe as well. There's a lot of people that just completely retreat from society and are at the computer all day. That's the one we spoke about last time. Those are all the archetypes from last time. And every one of them has the exact same, but then on the female side, right? So on the female side, we just spoke about the unformed, which is the one who goes into every situation, not really knowing what to do, so just absorbs from TikTok and all of that. Because women, by definition, except for exceptions, but by definition, generally speaking, look for things around them similar to what the men do. So the men, they see the hierarchy, they see the strength, they see that, okay, I need to be doing certain things, like these people that, for example, they look at Andrew Tate and they either think, oh, this is good, or they think, oh, this is bad, depending on the type of information they've absorbed. Whereas the golem looks at Andrew Tate and it's like, hell yeah, let's go. That's kind of the difference between an unformed and a golem, just to separate that. And the optimizer is the one who goes full metric, like fully locks in on like, this is how everything is to be, and this is what we're looking for. So when she looks for partners, more often than not, she looks like a partner that kind of fits into the masculine traits, someone that is educated, so she goes for the white knight. You see the connection?
Yeah.
I think so.
So you have the man who does all the performance and gets the right words, quote unquote, and you have the woman who measures everything and puts everything into like an app, and they look for the relations between the two. So that was the master we spoke about. We spoke about the unformed, and then you have the white savior, and the white savior is the literal opposite to the white knight. So the white savior volunteers at like refugee centers, constantly posts about Palestine or Ukraine or the Yemeni or whatever you can think about, whatever is in the news right now. That's what she will post about, and everything's a problem as long as it's far away. Because I know a woman within my, because the first chapter of the book, from We Stand on the Soldier of Silence, Amnesia, quite literally goes over me speaking to another woman, kind of like my conversation with my little sister, but I've turned it into a story, right? And I know more women that are like that are more obsessed with the far away than they are about the close. Because this woman, not my little sister, but someone else, her brother died of like an overdose, like a drug overdose. And she attended the funeral, but she posted absolutely nothing. She merely went back to what matters, which is volunteering and Palestine and, all that thing. That the far away is important. The fact that brother died from overdose is not important. To do something with drugs is not important.
Yeah, well, it's classic virtue signaling. It's easy.
Exactly.
It's easy to do stuff if you're not personally affected by it.
Yeah, but then when she is affected, she just redirects. She turns all of her attention to like a crisis in Sudan, for example. That's kind of like what you see with the white savior. Like females, like especially white women in modern times, have this savior complex where they are like, I need to save everyone except for your own, apparently.
Yeah, classic whataboutism.
Exactly.
Okay. I mean, question that's on my mind right now is, can people be or have multiple aspects from these personality types?
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Yeah, it's not
just... Like, it's not one box fits all. No.
Yeah, okay.
Like, I'm just basically looking at what I've seen in the past 14 years of my adult life and looking around like, hey, what are the specific traits that I'm seeing? Like, for example, in the male archetypes, I wasn't 3 of them. I just know how to fully isolate them because, well, I lived it, right? Yeah. Through different stages of my life, I've seen the archetypes around in my friend circles and in my broader friend circles as well. But now, like, what I'm trying to do for myself is kind of like make sense out of everything. So when I try to make sense out of everything, you have to lock everything into a certain box, so to say. But just like with my frontier, middle, and garden philosophy, that's also not a box you fully fit in. You're still in the other 2 boxes, right?
Yeah. Okay.
So it's like a progression. Like, so the white savior, for example, can be an optimizer. Totally possible. It can be someone that is completely obsessed with numbers, but at the same time, puts all of her attention in the far away. These are people in the United Nations, for example. Like, there's a lot of people in the United Nations that are there just to, I don't know, whine, pretend they care. Like, every single time I see something.
Well, they bureaucrat for the sake of bureaucrat.
Exactly. Like, that whole organization is like a massive waste of money.
Okay.
So similar to the White Knight, the White Savior, they is basically the female version.
Right. Okay.
And I'm sure, like, these types. You've probably met them.
I don't know these types. I mean, I've probably met them. You know what I mean? But sometimes I just don't know. Like, I don't. I guess this is kind of the first time where I'm thinking about it carefully. Like, what type of person a person is, kind of thing. I mean, for me, when you meet somebody, just you take them at their kind of face value and their kind of personality types, and everybody's different. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But if you're starting to categorize people into certain, like, archetypes and stuff like that, then to me it's like, okay, that's hard to understand because
you can you can categorize people to a certain degree, but what's happening with a lot of the woke stuff, for example, is they do it to an excessive degree.
Yeah, to an extreme.
Yeah, I mean, you can categorize a person like, okay, well, this person. I mean, if you've got some more an Australian accent, well, you can categorize them as Australian.
Yeah.
So there's stuff like that. I mean, it makes sense. It's like a lot of it is just a shorthand, so you can figure things out where you stand with a person, or in comparison to a person. But yeah, when you take it to an extreme like woke people, that's when you get massive problems because you're basically separated into a box of one at the end of the day. That's what they'll end up doing if they carry on going. That's like taking it to its logical extreme.
That's what I'm saying. It's not one box fits all. It's more like there's multiple archetypes within one person. It's just like there's a dominant one that always sticks out. Like in the United Nations, more often not, if you see a white woman speak there, it's about a whole lot of nothing in order to keep her job.
Okay. I mean, do you think then, right? Okay, so let's ask an interesting question. For those archetypes, we talk about mental health issues like narcissism and things like that. Do you think one type of archetype is more prone to these kind of mental health conditions, or is these archetypes a mental health condition in itself?
Well, narcissism isn't a mental health condition; it's a personality type. There's a difference.
Yeah. I think on the what's it called? There's a scale that they judge it by in there, dark triad thing. So do you think these archetypes are more in the dark triad?
No, this is just what we're seeing from. Like, let's take it all the way to the basics, right? In Confucian philosophy, like the ethical cultivation begins with filial piety, extends to siblings, and then to community, and then outward in concentric circles. That's what the entire Confucian philosophy is built on, the family, right?
Wait, are you going to be talking about the heat map?
No.
Because that's what I'm picturing when you do it. It makes me think of what the heat map looks like.
I mean, the heat map itself is an interesting concept, but this is just 2,500-year-old philosophy, right? Like, there was no heat maps or anything like that. It's just more in the warring states is where Confucian was active, right? The warring states of China, where he just saw constant warfare and constant people like being at each other's throat. He basically tried to describe what really a perfect society would look like, but more what a organic society would look like. And what we've seen throughout the past 2,000 years, not just in China, but in the West as well, is that the family has always been center to everything. So the very core of a nation starts with the family. Because the moment the family no longer trusts a nation, you see the nation collapse. And that's what's happening in England, it's what's happening in Scotland, what's happening in the Netherlands, in Wales, in Ireland. Like, actual families with children don't trust their government anymore. A lot of them actually choose to homeschool now. That's also a very big uprise. There's a lot of children being homeschooled because the parents don't trust the schools anymore for good reason, because I've seen what they do with the schools.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like what I was getting at, more at the center of family, like how important the family is. And if you don't have a proper father figure and if you don't have a proper mother figure, there are archetypes that spend on that. Like when you look into the dark archetype, that's more an abusive family, right? I'm more talking about a family that is more absent.
Right, okay. So it's absence rather than... But then, is absence not a form of abuse anyway?
It is, yeah. Like the White Savior, for example, there's a very high chance that there is narcissism in there. Because fundamentally, they care more about far away in their own look, right? They care about how other people perceive them. If you look at the curriculus, if you look at politics, like politicians, they care more about how they look than actually doing something, right?
Yeah.
Well, again, it comes back to the heat map. You see, all like the liberal types, they congregate around like the very far edges of the heat map, which is like a lot of it comes to abstract concepts or things that are like so far, like ridiculously far away that they shouldn't really affect you, while ignoring things like in their immediate vicinity, like friends, family, the local neighborhood, that kind of thing.
Yeah. The heat map is a very interesting concept when it comes to behavior of people. But for me, the fundamental thing is always that like psychology and science all stand on what philosophy is, because philosophy is like the basics. Like you can't just throw out 4,000 years of philosophy just because we have science now.
Yeah.
It's more the whole purpose of philosophy was to prove a point, and science is just continuing that.
Yeah, philosophy is the framework of science. It's like if you don't ask questions,
Yep.
you're not going to want to find out about things. So science would be useless at that point. I mean, it's like one naturally leads to the other. You can't. It's like it's if you take away the philosophical part, then it's kind of the entire model falls over because it's literally missing a leg to stand on.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like,
I guess a lot of things we used to believe because we asked questions through philosophy and things like that. We had to change our systems and our belief systems because.
I mean, everything that we have today is built on philosophy. Like modern ideology is built on French philosophy. Like even in the modern day, like Foucault was someone that is very influential in like modern universities, despite the fact the guy is an absolute idiot. Like, yeah, sure, he has some points, but his points more often than not is about just destroying further.
Well,
like,
I mean, a broken clock and all that, yeah.
Yeah, that kind of stuff. Like when we speak about the Visayer, for example, like this is someone who substitutes family for activism. Because in the end, like we are human-orientated creatures, so we seek validation of people around us. And when you can't get that with the family, you start getting it elsewhere. And what does it look like elsewhere? But you start looking at in modernity in activism, right? Virtue signaling, that type of stuff. Yeah. Both men and women do it.
Yeah, and even from a young age, we always seek validation, don't we? Like from toddler age, really. You know what I mean? We're always looking for that validation. We're always looking to see if we've done the right thing. And I guess, if you're raised in the wrong environment or if you're not getting that attention, then you're going to be deficit in those areas.
Yeah. Moving on to then degenerate, because the male degenerate is something, to say the least, right? But the female degenerate is, in my opinion, much worse because...
Well, it's funny because you don't really hear a lot about female degenerates.
Because you don't look into it. It's so easy to find them.
Yeah.
So what the female degenerate does is, because masculinity cells are made toxic, they start looking for it elsewhere. And what they then do is they read books, because women get their flick from books, right, from novels. Not about human men, but about monster romance, werewolves, minotaurs, aliens, tentacles, or demons, call it.
You're not talking about the Milk and Farm book series, are you? Because I really don't want to go into that.
We're not going to talk about the books. I'm just calling out.
50 Shades of Grey, maybe?
No. There's a book series about basically some woman working at a Minotaur milk and farm. And that's all I'm going to say about that.
Yeah, I mean, the fact you're bringing it up, that's all you, man. I was not going to go there. I was going to go with Baldur's Gate 3, because a lot of people are saying, oh, Baldur's Gate 2, but I'm like, Baldur's Gate 3 is complete degeneracy. Like, there was bear scenes, just straight up, bestiality. They champion, like, the LGBTs champions all these things in there, but last time I checked, asexuality is in there, and you can do a scene with an asexual alien, okay. So much for keeping to the roots of what asexuality means, but whatever makes your day, I guess. Like, this is what they go for. Like, they go for these more extreme things of something that's not even human anymore. And if you look at their quote-unquote toys, there's a lot of shapes that are not human, and they are also very much sold out, because I looked it up on Amazon, and most of these things are sold out. Which means there's obviously men buying them too, but there's a lot of women buying that.
Yeah. But then, I mean... What line do we toe here? If people can write fantasy, right, and it's all just an idea, but there's no malice behind it, or there's no ill intention behind it. They're just writing because it's fiction.
But it's wrong, Dave. That's the whole point, right?
No, I know, absolutely. There is a line that you cross where it becomes
like
wrong.
In Baldur's Gate, it's a literal animal. Like, it's a bear.
I haven't played Baldur's Gate, so I can't really comment in terms of that.
But that's what we're talking about. Like, this is straight up bestiality, which is illegal in our countries.
Okay,
just to be pedantically specific, it's a druid in bear form.
Right. Okay. Right. That makes sense. Okay.
With doing the activity.
Yeah. So in terms of if we're talking about then that these people are talking about having sex with mythical creatures and things like that, then yeah, that bridges the line at degeneracy. Degeneracy? I can't even speak
Degeneracy.
right. Yeah. But yeah, I get that. So that's the line you cross there. But if you're writing just normal fictional novels about, slaying beasts and stuff like that, then
That has
I don't
nothing
think
to do
that's
with the
across
point.
the line. Yeah, okay, right.
Like, we're
I
talking
mean,
about the degenerate, right?
I mean, like I've said before, I've got no problem with a little bit of degeneracy as long as it's kept within the privacy of your own home. But when it gets to the point where you're trying to promote it as an everyday lifestyle choice, and it's it's a normal thing, it's like, no, you're going a bit too far there.
Yeah, but
Especially when you try to push it, towards more impressionable people and kids
For
and
your
stuff.
point, Mick, I mean, obviously there is people have kinks, yeah. People have all sorts of, sexual fantasies and things like that. When it's crossing the line of going into animals and things like that, or
I mean,
any kind of
if it's illegal, it's illegal. Obviously,
yeah,
I'm not going
exactly.
to promote
Yeah,
bestiality. I'm not going to promote
yeah,
bestiality. It's
yeah,
like, one thing with fantasy video games is that you can explore certain facets. Explore certain facets in a safe environment.
yeah,
Using your imagination, that kind of thing. I mean, it can be a healthy thing, but some people
yeah.
do take it too far.
Am I right
uh,
to say that it's also an element in Final Fantasy 14 games like that as well, where they have those elements of, you can turn into a creature, and then obviously they cross the line by then, going into nightclubs and stripping off, and it's just this mad
I mean,
pure
that's like
fantasy.
well, you're talking about ERP basically. I mean,
Yeah,
again, that's another, like, quote unquote safe way of doing it. I mean,
yeah.
I've got no problem with people doing it. I don't partake myself.
So then, a question for you, Dominic, is that where you would find those female archetypes, those degenerates, so to speak, more
I'd say you're more
often?
likely to.
Yeah,
the way I look at it is basically like this, because people think all animals, but when it comes to animals, I look at the same way I look at child porn. No,
right.
just no.
Okay. Yeah,
Like, the moment you bridge, because it is scientifically proven, the more you consume pornographic material, the more you desire extremes.
yeah,
So you are no longer satisfied with normal things. So you start upgrading and upgrading and upgrading. There was like a Twitch streamer, I don't even know what his name was, but like a while ago, that got caught with links for CP, I believe. Or
Well, I mean,
Was
let's
it
call it
Vouch,
for
I
what
think?
what it is. It's not porn. It's abuse material. It's child sexual abuse material.
same
So
thing.
yeah, no, I know, but calling it porn then kind of glorifies it in a sense, because it's saying it's
English is not my first language, so
people watch porn for gratification.
But no, I mean, well,
You know,
he's right to a point. There is such a thing as porn addiction. I mean, I've been in that position before. I had to get out of it. It's I mean, it can be a healthy thing in moderation, like regular. But I'm obviously not like the
yeah.
yeah,
extreme
yeah.
porn.
When it's
Yeah,
crossing the
but-
illegal line,
Like, it's
that's
still
yeah.
the forbidden fruit
it's
syndrome,
still
right? Like,
porn
there is a point where, due to the nature of the forbidden fruit syndrome, where the more you deny something, the more you start craving it. There needs to be like some moderation. So it's just normal adult people doing things, and that's something you want to look at every so often and break a leg, right? We're talking about extremes here. So in the female side, you have the bestiality, which is straight up you're into being done by an animal, which is disgusting. And the other side, you have, well, what they call the child abuse material that you call it, right?
Yeah,
Like, both bad.
I mean, the thing is, when you get to games, art, literature, that kind of thing, it's in a bit of a gray area because it's not real.
I know that's the
So,
same with Japan and Lolicon, right?
what would say that again?
With Japan and Lolicons, like, because the dragon is 9,000 years old, it's okay.
Well, no, it's one of the things. I mean, a lot of people don't realize that lolicon is actually a body type, not an age thing. It often overlaps. I mean, you have got people who try and say like a kid is a lolly, and it's like that's not the case. Because
I wouldn't know. I'm not an expert.
Yeah, because you get women who are clearly of age, but they are small, flat chested. So that's the lolly body type. It's like an archetype, like you were saying before.
Oh,
So
okay.
yeah, so it's in and of itself, it's not a degenerate thing. Although there are people who's, I mean, it's like, okay, you've got the 9,000-year-old dragon. It looks like a small young woman. That's what it's supposed to be. It's still
Yeah.
of age, but then you've got people who are confusing it with saying, "Oh, well, it's a young child." It's like it's not supposed to be a
Yeah.
young child.
So,
It's young looking maybe. It might actually be young. It might actually be a young person, like 18, something like that. But they're still of age.
yeah.
So you've got people confusing it with that. But you've also got people on the other end who are actually trying to say, well, kids are lolly. So they're trying to, you got like pedophile advocacy groups doing this kind of thing as well. So that really muddies the waters.
Yeah. So what about like people who are attracted to dwarfs, for example? You know what I mean? Like, or
That's a
small
fetish.
people. Yeah.
And
It's a
dwarves are pretty easy to identify because they look like old people.
Yeah.
They're just small.
Yeah. They're just not.
I mean, it's like you get chubby chasers. You get men and women who like.
Yeah. That's what
people-
OnlyFans is for, is it not?
OnlyFans? No, that's
They were
for.
getting kind of off topic, but the point was basically there is that archetype of the woman and the man as well that just, due to the complete lack of masculine strength, they just devour actual masculinity in the sense of something that's not human, because the toxic masculinity is the fact that masculinity is bad. So if you can't get it from a man, you get it from something else, right?
You get it from some. There's like a power dynamic there, which plays it. So, some people, it's like the whole sub and dom culture. Some people really some people really get into that, and they either want to be the one in control or they want to completely surrender control, and that's where it comes into like some kind of the. At least that's part of what I think some of the aspect is. It's like they want to, a powerful beast.
I think we mentioned last time as well about like male incels and things like that, and I guess there is female incels then as well.
Femcells.
Femcells, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Femcells and incels.
Right. Okay. So all falls into kind of place, doesn't it?
I mean, we basically have turned our entire society in one giant project for the past 70 years, and these are the conclusions that you can draw. Like, my mother, for example, was raised without a father because my grandfather died when she was 7 years old, with all consequences of it. Like, my biological father is, by every single mean of definition, trash.
Yeah.
Because she was never fully capable of seeing what a proper masculine figure looked like, so she started looking for something that resembles it.
Right.
And something that resembles it tends to be the White Knight, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's why I know the White Knight so well. Because that's all my biological father was, a performance. And then when he gave up the performance, he just became a trash can.
Right.
Quite simple.
I've had a thought actually. Do you think as a society we become completely obsessed with sex?
That too, yeah. But that's quite normal.
I think that's always been the case, but even going back to Rome, it's always been the case where we've been,
what are you talking about?
Victorian ages. Well, we've always been societies obsessed with sex.
No.
Have we not?
No.
I mean, if you look at, for example, films like Caligula, where all it was a massive.
There has been 2,000 years since then, Dave.
Yeah, I know, but then go back to the Victorian age as well.
That's when it started, yeah.
Right. Okay.
Like during the phases of Christianity, obviously lust became problematic, so you had to suppress it. Which is why if you go to church, there's a lot of horny people. That's just
if you go where there's a lot of horny people.
Church.
Do you think then? Right, just to pose
fair enough.
Just to pose, yeah. Just to
no, mate, no, it just makes me think like the horny nun stereotype. It's like, oh, my habit's a bit ripped. Can someone please save me? Never mind.
In terms of like as being human, we are all sexual creatures, right? We are born to reproduce at the end of the day. So do you think that suppressing somebody's sexual desires then is bringing on more of a problem than what it's solving.
I mean, everything has to be in moderation. That's kind of like the key thing. Like, we've completely gone out of control with the sexual revolution. That's the real thing. Like, the moment the pill was invented, because previously, before the pill, there was consequences to going into the act.
Not just that, not just the pill, but abortions as well.
That too. Yeah, like it's a double wham. Like I call it the hung baseball.
Because I've literally seen videos and pictures of women showing off their
seen it too.
Their abortion scars, like the badges of honor. Like they've been in battle and survived. And it's like, that's just disgusting.
Yep.
I don't know.
Actually, it did. I did see a funny meme the other day. That was like, the way everybody, if a woman's pregnant, everyone comes up and pats the belly and goes like, "Oh, isn't that nice?" But then no one comes up and pats my balls and say, "Good job."
Fair enough.
I mean, I don't know how it is for you guys, but on the news recently as well, starting to hear like more cases of teenage sex crimes and things like that. Where and I think there is maybe something to be said that the more this stuff is repressed in a sense, then it's like we said earlier. If you create a desire, then people are
That's not quite the same thing. That is people's bad behavior being copied by a lot of the parents. I mean, there was one, I can't remember where it was exactly, but there was one where it was fairly recent. I'll see if I can find the thing. But essentially, it was a 14-year-old black child raped one of his female friends, and the dad tried to basically say boys will be boys. That was the kind of excuse. He's 14. He was like, it's what kids do. It's like, no, that's not what kids do.
That's something.
Yeah, that is a complete butchering of the whole boys will be boys. That's like, yeah, boys are sometimes aggressive. They'll aggressively play them, get into fights. They don't go out and fucking rape somebody at 14 or at any age. Yeah.
But then it makes you ask the question, what is underlying there? Was there a history for that person who committed that crime? Was there a history of abuse in the family, or was
it's just bad?
Or is it just bad
parenting
behavior kind of thing? Because obviously you get cases where people are raised into very healthy families, growing up given kind of all sorts of things.
Yeah, but then you go back into the archetype, right? Like we're talking about archetypes here, and you're going very off topic, but when it comes to that child, for example, we've seen it here with Renee's statements as well. Like the parents were literally saying it was Allah's will that their child murdered a Dutch boy for speaking out against these Muslims because, well, the boy was a Muslim. Problem solved. Like, bad parenting is just what is a good masculine figure? That's the whole concept that we're talking about. What is a good feminine figure? Because obviously that man is boys with boys when the boy is raping another woman. That's some boys with girls, and it's also not a good masculine figure. This is a man that starts learning that might makes right.
I mean, that's true to a point. To a point, like when it comes to like authority, but when it comes to this, I mean, that's clearly not what it's for. That's taken might makes right to its logical extreme.
Yeah, but that's what might makes right is. Like the Nazis were the whole ideology of might makes right. Yeah. You are stronger, you are weaker, boom, problem solved.
Yeah, but it's like you get things like law enforcement. Again, that it's done by force, might makes right. So there's it's done. It's relevant. Well, it's relevant and valid at certain points, but that's like a societal thing to deal with. We've already decided things like rape are wrong, but if someone's exercising their force to do it, it's like that's not might makes right. At least not the spirit of it, if you get me.
Yeah, but we're talking about men, and that's the last episode. So stick to women, shall we?
True.
Okay.
Maybe turn to the wrong men to speak about women with, because you guys don't have a lot of female friends.
Guys have a what?
I don't have a lot.
You guys don't have a lot of female friends.
I've got a few. To be honest, funnily enough, I've usually get along very well with women. The funny thing is, I've been popular with women, but like in the friend way, not in a romantic way. I think women find me very unthreatening. So they're just very friendly with me. I think it's just because I tend to be quite friendly in general. But yeah, I had a lot of friends, especially when I was younger. A lot of my guy friends going, "Oh, how are you friends with her?" It's like, "What do you do?" It's like, we're just friends. It's like we just get on, we talk. So
Yeah. I
yeah,
was
it's
kind
like
of similar in your sense as well, mate. Like I had a lot of female friends where it would just be like, how you getting on with her, you. But it's like,
yeah,
yes,
it's
she's just a
it's
friend.
completely
Yes,
platonic. Yeah.
exactly. You know what I mean? And then I guess is that something that if they don't like females, if they don't feel threatened by a male or they don't feel like they're out to get the male's out to get anything from them, then
Ask you
they'll
for
kind of
something. Like,
tend
do you
to,
actually pay attention to the things we speak about in these episodes?
yeah, I
Because
do.
what did I say last week was a deal breaker?
Yeah, okay.
No, not a question. What was that I spread last week? It was a deal breaker for women. Scientific research. It was published in 2025 November, right? So last year. What was a deal breaker?
I don't remember actually. What was it?
Dave?
I don't remember.
Damn. The deal breaker for women, with a 96% times of when it was measured, was the fact
Was
that
it
you
protection
didn't.
Wait, let him
or
finish.
it protected them? 'Cause it
Yeah,
wasn't.
it was protection.
Yeah.
Ah,
Are you
well,
willing to protect me when it matters? Are you willing to protect potentially our child when it matters? That was a thing that attracted women. And a lot of women, what they see with the male archetype is like, for example, the predator, they're attracted to that due to the nature of them being threatening by nature. Not a lot of women are like specifically going for the predator. It's more they're seeking some kind of presence. Like they also go for the white knight, for example. But this relationship never lasts precisely because it's a performance, right? With the predator, it's a performance of I am strong, and with the white knight, it's a performance of I do the right thing.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that's why it's like I've got like a lot of women, well, maybe not a lot, but I've got plenty of women friends because I don't think I naturally exude a kind of threatening presence. I mean, if
It's
it
not
comes,
threatening, it's protective. The
well,
protective nature.
threatening or like a forceful presence, like it. I don't give the impression that I would be ready to do violence. Not that I won't. I mean, if it comes down to it, I will. If I get forced into the position, but I'm not someone who, looks like I would be willing and able to do violence. Give out that kind of protection. So I think it's just the impression. I mean, obviously, the impression isn't necessarily the actual thing, but I think that would explain certain aspects of my life.
When push
That's
comes to
it.
shove, but I would protect anybody. If anybody was in trouble, I would protect them. So
Yeah, but
I guess
that's
that's
not the.
Like you said, Dominic, it's a performative thing. I don't perform that, if you get me.
Well, the
Yeah.
performance thing is the people that get either a divorce or a very short relationship. Like the real protection instinct is more by showing you as a person, and once she feels safe with you. Like not necessarily safe in like you're not a threat, but more like safe in if anything happens, this person will take care of me.
Yeah, you know that the person is there for you when you need it. I mean, I've done that for friends as well. Like it's like my friends know. Like if it comes down to it, I'll go to their side at the drop of a hat. Doesn't matter if it's a female friend or a male friend. It's like
Yeah,
they know my friends know I will be there if they need to. They just need to ask. And there's no performative aspect. So I think maybe what you were saying earlier with like going for like the tough guys or the predator types, they're only doing it on a superficial level because they probably don't understand what real protection looks like. But
if anything, we destroyed that understanding. That's the whole point.
But it's also a thing that they can learn as they get older because you see a lot of women now going towards more traditional male. Because you still have traditional males out there, and you see women as they get older start to go for they ditch the bad boy and go for the more traditional male because they're more secure and stable.
Yeah, but the traditional men are not stupid. That's kind of
Well,
the thing they're also finding out.
That too. Because you've got what is it? Like stability is a kind of protection as well.
Yeah, it's part of it, but
Yeah.
it's more about like when it comes to that research specifically, it's where you stand between danger, what it matters, and throughout the relation, like especially for dating, like nowadays, if you think about dating, especially in England, it's a lot of swipe or just instant gratification.
That's the West in general, I think.
Yeah, but just going into like your life, right? So in England, we're speaking about people that are raised with. I'm just going to stereotype because a lot of British men, especially the ones that were of the previous generation, tend to show masculinity in a very unnatural way. Like a lot of domestic violence was happening because like domestic violence rates went up highest during football day.
As what?
Yeah.
During football days.
Oh yeah.
So there was a lot of alcohol involved, and there was a lot of punching involved. And when we go back to what we were talking about, like this woman that was once a girl grew up watching that as her father, and then that's what she looks for because that's something that she's used to.
It reminds me of when I was a teenager. There was a friend of mine had his girlfriend. Nobody really liked her because she was constantly trying to get him into trouble. Trying basically provoking men, trying to get him into fights, and we were all pointing it out to him, and he just refused to see it. But yeah, that's like what kind of archetype would you say that would be?
The predator. That's a female predator.
Right. Okay.
You can actually jump to them. Like the female predator is quite an interesting one because the female predator is how do you start with this one? Because the female predator is a very big one. Because right now there's a lot of female predators out there. They're the ones that abuse the legal system.
Oh yeah, so, the whole Me Too movement was a big predator movement in that sense.
So a female predator is someone that has power without purpose, conquest without why, and extraction without framework beyond immediate gain.
Well, again, isn't this going into the might makes right part again? They're trying to amass power just for the sake of power.
Yeah, like where men kind of like face criminal consequences, she plays the legal game. So one of the key things you see with a female predator is she can baby trap. There are actual women out there that I've actually seen clips of it as well, which is crazy. Of a woman just going, "Oh, I will baby trap this man." I'm like, huh?
Yeah, they brag about it. Yeah,
that's crazy. Or they extract child support.
What you mean as just in terms of getting the guy to be a father, basically?
Yeah, they get themselves pregnant so they could trap the guy in a relationship, or trap him with alimony payments.
Yeah, extract child support from she deliberately, because there are women out there that just get child support and that's their entire life plan. Just keep getting baby daddies and go that way. Or something that we've seen in my country, they used children as citizenship anchors.
Anchor babies.
Anchor babies, yes. That is actually one that disgusts me the most because in the news, other women are like, "Oh, the poor woman, like we should criticize her." Like, no, kick her out. I don't care what she did here. She's been told to leave.
Yeah, you get that, and you see a lot of that in America as well. Where I mean, that's why the Trump administration is trying to get rid of anchor babies. I think we should do the same over here. It's like there should be a legal process for these people to come in and maybe bring families, but just having a baby on a certain country soil should not grant automatic citizenship. It's been shown it's far too easily abusable.
Well, let me just use a case from my country. This has been in the news multiple times over the past few years. So there's a woman who came here for asylum from a relatively safe country. And she was processed throughout the entire system, and she was rejected and told to go home. She didn't go home, and then she got pregnant in this country. The son, not being raised here for like 10 years now because she keeps refusing to leave, is now stuck between dealing with her mother's nonsense and the fact that he was raised here just because her mother is a predator. Like, she is using the legal system against its own cause, because in the Netherlands we don't have this anchor baby system, so she is told to leave. The child is told to leave.
Yeah.
And this has been going on for 10 years now. It's crazy.
Yeah, no, because you have it over here as well, where you get a lot of predators, and they basically, and it's men and women, but they're basically um, abusing the system. I guess at the point where people, some of these people have tried to commit murder to get like they get bored of the country, or they've milked the country enough. I mean, this is an actual case in the UK. There was a Middle East guy, I forget which country he's from, but he wanted to leave the country because he was sick, so he wanted to get kicked out and deported. He couldn't do it. He was just committing crimes. So then he tried attempted murder. He to kill someone. He still didn't get kicked out the country.
What?
Nice.
That's
There's the
crazy.
logic of the legal system, like especially when it comes to non-natives, which is crazy.
It's the activists. They really, yeah. They really mess things up. I mean, there's a lot of activist judges who have been trying to keep people in when it's known that these people, that the population want these people gone. Because you see it in America as well, like a lot of the Minnesota stuff. You see some of the activist judges in Minnesota blocking court cases, saying, "Oh, they can't do this," even though that's not their it's not their purview to do it. It's supposed to be an immigration court, not an actual judicial
Family
court.
court?
Yeah, but that's what you get. That's what you get doing with this, and it's again, it tends to be plenty of women who are doing it. A lot of white women, so it's a lot of these
Yep.
predator women as well who are doing the same thing.
That's kind of the thing. When you think about female predators, like what becomes of the children? Because they're raised by women who use them as tools, as assets. So, like that. Then again, like it's generational trauma is kind of like the word you keep getting here a lot, but you don't hear it from these type of women at all because they're protected by the legal system.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard people saying, when it comes to, false rape accusations and that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
If it turns out a person's done a false rape accusation, that person should get the punishment that was due for the accused.
Yeah,
And
I agree.
I'm inclined to agree with that, because it's like you're doing that. It's like, okay, we will have to find ways to differentiate for when a person is just mistaken, because like obviously it's a traumatic thing. A person might get it wrong, but there are plenty of cases out there where it's completely definitive that the person was just accused either to get someone out of trouble. Like, yeah, I've heard of cases where a woman had sex with someone, regretted it the next day, and then accused them of rape because like the boyfriend was going to find out or something like that. So it's to get them out of trouble, or a perceived slut shaming or something like that. Yeah, and it's in cases like that they should be forced to have some kind of punishment, because it's the fact that they don't get any punishment just means that they it gives other terrible women the opportunity to do it to others.
It's like a free pass, isn't it?
Kind of, yeah.
Like when it comes to men, it's very easy to punish them because it's always crime what they go into. When it's with women, like they're more strategic. Like they use the legal system and they target men with careers to protect, for example, reputations to lose, or families who will be horrified just by false accusations, right?
Yeah, well, even then, if a man gets accused of rape, that's going to be a black spot that follows him for the rest of his life.
Oh yeah.
There's been a case like that in the Netherlands where a man, clearly innocent, had to go through the entire legal system. Eventually, was found out that she was lying, and his entire life was over. He was fired. Like he had to move. Like his name completely in the black. It doesn't matter that he won the case in the end because his life was already ruined.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
and it'll still be ruined in the future as well, because there's going to be people going, no, the legal system let them fail.
Yeah, there's always a chance too. Yeah.
Yeah, so there's too much like that. It's like this kind of thing should not be allowed. Like with predators, because it's just it's like a lot of these feminist types. They've said they've wanted equality, but what they really want is power. They want to be the ones. They want to be the ones wielding the power, or what they perceive to be the power, and they think this is the way of doing it. And it's like literally to punish men for perceived slights over the centuries. And
it's also
it's
what you
very
see a lot of grudges
there's a lot of
against,
grudges
for example,
behind
the
it.
father or the
Yeah.
mother. Like that's why I started. Like it starts with the family. Like obviously there's always exceptions, but more often than not, especially in current day, right? Like generally speaking, most families in the West are just completely horrible.
I wouldn't say most, but there's a good number of them.
I would say most, because we're talking about actual masculinity and actual femininity, and finding an actual family that represents both, that's the rare part.
I mean, I'm hoping that because society does seem to be like skewing more towards getting rid of these kind of like dangerous people now. It's going to take some time, obviously, but I'm hoping that with an increase of like men just starting to display masculine, display masculine traits, to not be caring about all of these people, trying to pin them down, saying, "Oh, you're toxic," whatever. You're going to see better role models for people, for people growing up, and this will be a problem that solves itself over maybe not solves itself, but with like careful cultivation of society, we can make sure kids are raised to not be like little terrors. I mean, I would say to a point, actually allow parents to punish children as well. Yeah, to a point. I'm not saying like outright just beat the shit out of
Yeah.
them.
So do you
But
think
but
just
yeah,
to
a lot of kids are just like allowed to get away with bad behavior because parents can't do anything to them.
so just to ask then, Mike, do you think smacking was a good thing? Like
I mean,
in
I
terms
think
of
it can be.
if it was done correctly, like,
Yeah, if there's a way of doing it. I mean, because I was smacked by my parents when I was a
yeah,
kid.
same. Yeah, absolutely.
So was my brother. But it never went beyond that. But we learned, okay, if we're going to do something bad, we're going to get a smack. It's like you touch you touch a burning radiator. You pull your hand. You're not going to touch it again because you know it hurts. So
Yeah,
it's a similar thing there. It's like I think you do need some kind of force to do it. Within reason. Obviously, it's a kid. You're there to teach
yeah,
him, not to beat the shit out of them. But
yeah,
you do need to do a little something like that. Just like give him like a
yeah.
smack upside the head. Say, "Oi, no, no."
It
Well,
doesn't
Because
even have to
even
be the head
what
though, because if you look at Asia, right, like they just took a wooden spoon and they call it a day.
they do,
They
what?
all know the wooden spoon on the ass. Like, yeah, they know the
Yeah,
pain
yeah,
comes to the ass. Like, the ass is, for what it's worth, a very strong part of the body. So it is
yeah.
actually a good part to hit.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's why you get spanking, that kind of thing. Like, you'd get bent over the knee and spanked by your parents back in the Victorian era. It was a fairly common
It
thing.
works.
But yeah, so when I say smack upside the head, I don't literally mean like just belt them in the face, but know, give them a rap on the head or something like that, or like you say, give them a whack on the ass. I mean, I've been
yeah,
my mum did slap me on the ass once or twice when I was misbehaving as a kid. It's like it's
Yeah, that's a good thing.
yeah. I mean, one thing you should do is um. So I can't remember who said this, but I have this one. But kids should fear their dad.
yeah,
No
Yeah.
idea who said that, but yeah.
No, but I don't mean like you're terrified, but you don't want your dad to be displeased with you. You don't want your mother's disappointment. You should fear your mother's disappointment, but you should fear your dad's wrath as well. Um, and that's true because it's like, well, yeah, that teaches you how to behave around other people.
yeah,
And again, it's like that's where like the male role model comes in. Like the first male role model in your life should be your dad, and your mum should be the first female role model.
That's the whole point I'm making, right? In the past two
Yeah,
episodes.
with family, and
yeah,
we have kind of looped back around to it, so that's
Yeah.
so mission accomplished.
Yep.
Yeah,
It's with the women, there was just there was a lot of argument. Like obviously the women without the good father figure is an easy one. They tend to have extremely high body counts. And
yeah.
also are very often someone that goes into the adult industry.
Well, I mean,
right.
OnlyFans is a good indicator of that as well.
Yep. Most of them don't have good father figures. Like I've
Yeah,
seen some clips all from normal YouTube when they're just speaking normally, where they're just like having grudges against the father and stuff like that. It's like okay,
yeah. So because you've got that, it's like that. OnlyFans is a bit of a weird one because it's a very parasitic thing. It obviously it attracts women who don't have good uh male role model or good father figures, but it also attracts men to simp for them as well. So it's like the feed on each other once they get into that system. It's a very weird incestuous thing. I mean,
No, it's
I'm
kind of
glad.
natural, and that's one I've properly written out, because what you see is you have the women that see everything as numbers, for example, like with the optimizer. This is a woman that is completely obsessed with making everything optimized. But once she notices that she can optimize her own body, like she gets plastic surgery, for example, but she can also just go into the fact of, how do I optimize my own life? Oh, with money. How do I get money?
No,
And you start selling the idea of, because more often than not, what you sell with the most money they make on OnlyFans is selling the idea of being in a relationship. So you have the man that is just
girlfriend experience. No,
yeah.
that's not what I was talking about. I'm talking about like if you had like a good like a good dad, you wouldn't go on there because you wouldn't want to just like do that teasing thing. You wouldn't think that was a good thing to do.
Yep.
That's what I'm getting at. So that's why I'm saying it's like, but it gets the weird like the weird incestuous relationship between both sexes there, because you got the women going into it and the men cheering it on, kind of, because you've got men desperate for like a you know like female contact as well. Like going back to the incels.
I mean, it's the same with streamers, right? There are a lot of men and women that get obsessed relationships with streamers, despite the fact those streamers don't know them.
Well, yeah, it's parasocial relationships. That is,
Exactly.
I think that's a slightly separate thing though, because it's I think that's with the rise of social media.
No, like in OnlyFans, they do sell the idea of the parasocial relationship. There are a lot of men that are desperate for basically anything.
Oh
that
yeah,
they'll
yeah.
just cough up anything. That's where most of the money comes from.
Yeah, no, but what also like when you said like it's streamers, you get because the whole OnlyFans came up. I'd say because of the rise of parasocial relationships, because you have, like you say, a lot of streamers who get very obsessed fans and like act like they are. Or they want to be much closer to the streamer, and even before social media, you had it with celebrities. You'd get like the obsessed fan, that kind of thing. I mean,
Elvis and stuff, yeah.
yeah, I mean, who remembers the Eminem song? The one with Dido. I forget what it's called.
No
Stan.
idea.
Stan. The song Stan. That was about an obsessed fan. Who had a very parasocial relationship with Eminem. So you've got that, and it's like it's progressed to it's progressed now. It's like become much more common with the rise of social media, and because of that, it's led to things like OnlyFans, because people have realized you can exploit that parasocial relationship.
Yep. That's the whole point of the optimizers. Like, it's a lot of women that are good with numbers or just good with understanding what attracts value, and then just use that. And if you don't have a good family, a good father figure, then you don't see any problems with it. And there's a lot of women, like also on Instagram and on TikTok, that are just championing it. Like your body, your choice, and all that has been going on for like 15 years now. Like, that also has skyrocketed the increase of prostitution online.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those. I am very. It's a bit of a weird thing for me, because I'm very like it's your life, you can do what you want, but I am seeing like the really bad choices. And it's like I'd like to try and steer people away from these bad choices, because we've seen where they lead to. But at the end of the day, it's like I can't force a person to do it. To do it. It's like the whole "you can lead a horse to water" thing.
Yeah.
But that's what I mean, right? The reason our society is going to collapse no matter what is because it all started with the family, and the family is nowhere to be seen anymore.
And we need to rapidly rebuild that.
Yep, that's the only choice, but nobody's doing it. Like, look at any political program, and nobody's actively talking about, hey, we should probably make an extremely good example of what a healthy family looks like. Like, I think, for what it's worth, the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air was quite good for showing a pretty healthy family, right?
Oh yeah,
With a father that was, if necessary, would be a strong figure, but at other times he would be very nice and kind.
Uncle Phil was the patriarch of the family. In fact, they did a really good juxtaposition of that, because they had an episode or two where Will Smith's actual dad turns up, and at the end of the episode, you realize just how pathetic his real dad is.
Yep.
And then Will chooses Phil because he's his role model, and Phil just brings him into a hug. It was a really touching episode. You don't get stuff like this anymore. But yeah, Will just he's trying to put like a tough face on, but then he just breaks down crying, and Phil just immediately pulls him into a hug. I just say, just let him know he's there for him, and that's what a real dad does. It's like you don't cross, because obviously you've had plenty of times where Phil would come down on Will like a ton of bricks when he was acting up, but he was there. He made sure he was also there when he absolutely needed the help, and that's what a real dad should be.
But that's also like, because we've spoken about it multiple times with music and everything, where I'm always on the side of, it's fine to be all open, but if you're going to be all open, then everything is chaos, and all consequences do, right? But if you actually put into play, like, I'm not saying you need a China level. No, I mean, United Kingdom is already worse than China, but
we're getting there. Yeah.
Yeah, like when it comes to freedom of speech and when it comes to freedom of expression, the line that I'm trying to draw is basically show what the actual middle looks like. Show what an actual healthy family looks like. Like, it's also fine to show like dysfunctional family, but then show how to fix those dysfunctional families. But instead, what we're getting is like, what was something that was popular with my sister, like, was Sex in the City, and I've seen a few episodes of that, and it's just basically,
I never watched it.
It's just hookup culture.
I mean,
like, if that's something you're going to show to teenagers, then yeah, good luck.
Yeah, I just thinking that we probably need to get more shows like the not because there's a remake of Fresh Prince, and apparently it's really crap. I've never watched it, but we should get back to more things like the original Fresh Prince. Like I say, because showing people who are not dysfunctional. Because I think one of the problems is we celebrate the dysfunction now, or at least society does.
And that's where I am on the opinion of, you do need to draw a line, like with music, with art, with movies, with animation, like with everything. There needs to be a line drawn.
I mean, I think you can have those things, but you should be allowed to also have the other more wholesome things in there. Because you get a lot of people going, oh, you can't have this, you can't, like the moral busybodies.
Because it's easier to sell the things that are outrageous than it is to sell the thing. Because like First from Bel-Air is in a sense, kind of like a masterpiece. It's an exception, not the norm. Yeah. But when it comes to cheap shows, like they are all over the place. It's easy to produce. It's easy to get clicks out. Like if you think about music, something we spoke about was the junk food music, right? And junk food novels. Like these are easy to produce, easy to throw out, and especially with the rise of AI. Like, it is making it easier and easier to just very easily create junk that anyone can fastly observe, instead of like doing the due diligence of sitting through long-term content to maybe an entire season of explaining what it means to be a proper person.
I mean, that's true, but you are also seeing people. It's like you get into the forbidden fruit part of what you're saying before. Because you can see a lot of these things, a lot of them.
That's why I'm just saying rules, right? There needs to be, let's say, funding primarily goes to what actually needs to be done, and then outside of that, you can get sponsors and stuff like that to create content that is more outrageous, right? Like for example, Mr. Rogers. Like, I've never actually watched that show.
Is that the one? Is that the To the Moon guy?
Kind of like Fred Rogers is kind of the man that raised an entire generation in America. So his name is something that often comes up.
I know the name. I wasn't sure if it's like I might be mixing up with like the one goes like To the Moon, Alice. You know that.
Whatever. No, that's what I'm.
Oh, I don't know. Then
it's a children's show. He just does this very relaxed type of speaking, relaxed type of showing. Like, he was also someone that, during a time when it was strange, brought a black guest on the show. Because in America, during that time, it was strange for black and white to be together, right? Especially on television.
Like with the original Star Trek, when you had Uhura on the show. That was very progressive for its time.
And we did that even before that. So imagine that. And he was kind of like to break barriers and to show that things are normal. Like, you don't have to be out of control. But also, he tried to show what emotions are. So when he had to show up for Congress to justify the funding he was getting, one of the most strictest, because there's a clip of this out there, one of the strictest guys out there in order to get funding from, actually caved in because of what he said. And that is kind of like the difference. Like, he basically sang a song that he shows on the show, and he said, like, what do you do with the anger that you feel? To try and explain anger to a child, because a lot of children feel anger, right? What do you do with that emotion? So he's speaking to children as actual human beings and trying to teach them what it means to be proper, right?
I've noticed this. A lot of kid shows nowadays, they talk very condescendingly. It's like,
Exactly.
yeah, it's like, this is a map, M-A-P, map. You use it to go, to find places. Like, just talk like
talk to them like an idiot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is just
Like
not
even
acceptable.
like a show like Baby Shark, for example.
I've heard of it,
That
but never watched
the
it.
same kind of thing.
I've
It's
never
very
heard of it.
condescending.
I've heard of it, like a song at least. Baby Shark, la la la, whatever.
Okay, no, yeah, the song. Yeah, I know this. Yeah, okay. No, I know the song.
And that's kind of thing. Like, you think about funding, and you think of what you want on television and what you want your children to see. Like, take Totally Spies, for example, a French cartoon that was available on Fox Kids during my time. This is a show about fetishes. Like, you can literally go through the episodes and see what fetish at the time that French artist was drawing in the episode.
Yeah, you see a lot of that now, like they're putting fetishes in kids stuff.
They're normalizing degeneracy, and that's the whole problem.
Yeah, it's literally dangerous. I mean, kids aren't made for that kind of stuff. They shouldn't.
Exactly. But that's my point, right? Like, there needs to be a barrier to showing, at least up to the age of 18, what should be normal. Like, the whole philosophy of Confucianism is the idea that what you create in a family goes outside. So eventually that child will be an adult. And if throughout the entire life phase of him with his parents and school and everything has been degeneracy, then you're going to have a degenerate coming out of that house. Or a predator, or someone that is completely unformed, like Golem. Like, you're only going to get bad archetypes coming out of that household. And they are the majority now. Like, all these archetypes are easy to see because they're the first ones you run into. Whereas the one that is actually normally formed by a healthy family is more hidden. They're hard to find. Like, even in my church, like, I'm not a Baptist, but I go to a Baptist church because for me it's like Christianity, right?
Yeah.
And it's International Women's Day on Sunday, and there's a lot of condescending messages from the women in the group chat being like, oh, the man should do this, the man should do that. I'm like, why?
No. Yeah, it's like, no.
No, but more like, why? Like, where does this attitude come from where you're in a position to demand things?
Well, it's a sense of entitlement.
Exactly, and that is what something they've been raised with. It's a silver spoon, and then you get back into the white savior, because more often than not, the white savior is the one you see in church, because they're going all the way to Africa to help children there. But in the meantime, I don't have to go 30 minutes away to see the refugee center that is loaded with problems. And they don't go over there because that's not their business. They need to go all the way to Africa to care.
Yeah, you see it about with a lot of people in the West in general. It's like you get like black people with reparations, or like the reparations for slavery, and then you get like some women with like, oh, we need to make up for all the rapes, the rape culture and that kind of thing. And it's like, you're not entitled.
There was never a rape culture.
Yeah, what was that?
There was never a rape culture.
Oh yeah, but I mean, it's a buzz term that they use.
Yeah.
So they say stuff like that. It's just like, you're not entitled. I mean, have you been raped? Were you a slave? It's like, you're not entitled to anything like that. It's like,
exactly.
So they're using victim mentality from past generations as entitlement for things.
No, they're weaponizing it.
Yeah.
Like, it brings you back to like predatory, like using the legal system against you.
Yeah, exactly.
And that is like, what?
It's pretty stupid.
It is really stupid, but that is. It started with the institution, right? Like, when Will Durant wrote about the collapse of the Roman Empire based on Edward Gibbon's books, like, the institution, like, obviously it was more things than just the institution, but the institutions is where a lot of problems started, because that's where you normalize behavior. And obviously it extends to the family.
Yeah, we've got that over here because you've got a lot of colleges and universities and some schools now trying to indoctrinate kids into this kind of stuff. So they make like little ready-made, like the factory-made activists.
Yeah.
And that yeah, it's like it's coming from the institutions. I mean
Mm-hmm.
that's where it started, and now it's spreading into all aspects of society. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of work that needs to be done, especially just like with delegitimizing these institutions.
I mean, you can't just get rid of the institution because it's the schools, but like I've seen clips of like teachers in like middle school trying to teach children about sex toys for safety. I'm like, huh? You're trying to do what now?
Yeah, it's like I remember when we had sex education when I was a kid. They literally just told you how the body parts worked, and that was it.
Yeah, now they're like, oh, just bring out the toys. I'm like, no,
Yeah, nope, not at all. Yeah,
like that's too far.
yeah, there's like one of these is not like the others.
What do you say, Dave?
I'm saying, is that serious? Really?
Yes,
Yeah, no.
there are
I mean,
teachers that really try to teach about like anal sex toys. I'm like, we're going way too
yeah,
far.
yeah. I know. I've seen a few things with videos from kids recording in the classroom of them trying to expose teachers doing this. So there is at least it seems to be part of a generation of kids who know this is wrong and are trying to expose this kind of thing. So there is some hope there with that. So I mean, we'd have to see how that goes. But yeah, a lot of teachers are getting exposed by their own kids
Yeah, and rightfully
in the thing.
so. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
rightfully so. But it's good that there are some kids who at least seem to be showing they don't approve of this kind of stuff. So because a lot of people don't realize that kids are smarter than you give them credit for. I mean, yeah, they're not exactly the brightest bulbs in the shed, but they are working bulbs, and they can't think and form their own opinions. And so even when they're young, they can sometimes. I mean, that's why you teach them between right and wrong, so they can tell sometimes when a thing is right or wrong.
Yeah, of course. We're all born with a moral compass at the end of the day, most of us, and we just cannot enhance that through our.
Well, you have to configure your moral compass throughout your life, obviously.
Yeah. But then you get, like, as you say, kids, toddlers even, that kind of still know right from wrong. They'll know stealing from like other toddlers is not right, so they won't do it. You know what I mean? So it's
No, it's all
things like
teaching
that.
though. Like when you see a child taking something else, like you see it quite often with families. Like the mother and father have to actually teach the child like this is wrong.
Yeah. I mean,
Like
I don't think unless you've got actual brain damage, I don't think you're born with a moral compass, but you mostly learn it. But then, obviously, if you've got some like personality disorder, or you've hit your head one too many times or something like that, you tend to just learn these things as you go.
Yeah.
But even with like
Sometimes, but
personality disorders, right? Like people are still weaponizing that. Like there's so many women in the mental health institutions where it's like it's no longer natural. There's no way that all of you have issues. Like you're just not properly raised. That's the issue. And now suddenly the taxpayers have to pay for the fact that parents were not willing to do their job because the country told them they shouldn't be doing certain things. Because a lot of men, especially, have become afraid of actually acting like a father due to social consequences.
Well, yeah, I mean, you've got the thing where it's like men don't even want to be alone with women because they'll get accused of raping.
Yep. And that's the whole
So
point, right?
yeah, it's to make men afraid because you got some people who think that it's men's turn to be afraid, and it's like bitch, you've never
But
been
then
afraid. You've never
you
been afraid
don't
in your life.
win. Like you both lose.
Well, yeah, they try and turn it into a zero sum game, but it's like it
Yeah.
doesn't work that way. So yeah, if you will, everyone does lose in the end because like men and women are supposed to complement each other and work together, not be at each other's throats like they are, mortal enemies. It's like doing it that way is a quick way to the extinction of the species.
I mean, that's what's happening, right? If you look at the birth rates in the West,
Yeah, that's a good point.
we are like exterminating ourselves at a brilliant rate. Give it 100 years, and we're already a minority on this planet, but we're going to be like unicorns.
Yeah, it's like you have to go into the woods to find us.
And that's what they do. Like white flight is a real phenomenon where you just see white people run away to like villages and stuff. Even in the Netherlands, you see a lot of white people run to the north. I'm like, why are you here? Go back where you came from.
Yeah, go
Like, there's a lot of people, white people, like racist white people that are like, sent the Africans back. I'm like, sent the Dutch people back to fucking Amsterdam. What are you doing here?
No, that's true.
I
It's
like
like,
this shit over here.
yeah, because you have a similar thing with us. It's like, I mean, before like the migrant crisis, a lot of it was like, well, will the fucking Polish just go back home? You know.
Now I'm talking about my own people running to the north because they finished destroying the south. I'm like, no, go back.
Well, no, you have that thing in America. It's like you get a lot of Californians who are who escape the bad policies of California, but then they bring those, but they keep voting in those same people who do the exact same policies wherever they go. So the problems keep coming back. So they've done it to like several places in Texas, for example, and then yeah, they're wondering why Texas, or at least certain cities in Texas, start falling apart, and then they'll go somewhere else and do the exact same thing again. They don't learn the
Doesn't
lesson.
that sound familiar to you?
Yeah.
Take away the white, replace it with Arabian African.
Replace it with what?
Arabian and Africans.
Oh yeah, yeah.
They're doing the exact same stuff. They ruined their own country. They come here, now they want to ruin this country.
Yeah.
Nothing changed. Like it's a very human behavior.
Yeah, it's either they want to ruin it or they just don't understand what they've done to ruin their own country, and then just think, oh well, we'll try and do the exact same thing again. It's got to work. It's got to work this time, right?
Like with communism, like because Marxist thought has been dominating universities for 60 years now. We all know how communism ends, but for some reason, they just did it wrong.
Well, don't forget, real communism's never been tried.
Oh yeah,
that's the joke. Yeah.
Yeah. They just did it wrong there. No, they don't. I read the book. They did a perfectly good job, if anything. Like I'm quite proud of them. Like if it comes to following a rule book, like bravo. Like actual round of applause. Like they did a good job. They showed everything that would happen.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it might be one of those things for these people. Yeah, your communism continues until morale improves.
Might be, yeah. But it's that kind of logic, right? Like the end conclusion of communism, the end conclusion of fascism, like it just dries up. There's no future. Just the ground becomes barren, and then there's nothing to flourish on there anymore. And then you have to radically change what's on there in order to continue. You had that with after Lenin fall with Stalin, and after Mao, you had China taking very strong steps in order to salvage the situation. Yeah. And obviously Colombia itself, Colombia. Well, Colombia did Colombian things.
Yeah, it's like you just see it all falling apart, and it's just you'd think some people would learn, but clearly they don't.
I mean, it's the arrogance of the child who thinks they're smarter than the parents.
Well, to be fair, every child thinks they're smarter than the parents.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To be fair.
Yeah. They at some point they will quickly grow out of it. I mean, I'm willing to bet that at some point you thought you were smarter than your parents, but
no, I was busy surviving.
Well, some people will, most people will grow out of that, though.
Yeah, but like I'm a very strange exception because of the philosophy and all that.
Well, yeah, okay, maybe you didn't. I'll take your word for it.
I definitely did.
No, I did. There was times when I was like, "Oh, go away, Dad. You don't know what you're talking about." That kind of thing.
Yep. And then the next day, it's like, "Yep, okay, maybe you did know what you're talking about."
Terrible thing. When it comes to like fundamentally the number one issue we have in our societies, it's the family. That's like when it comes to the warring states. Right now, like something that I often talk about with friends, like we always call the dark ages, but why don't we say we're living in the dark ages right now? With 2 world wars, with the Napoleon War, like we've been having a lot of chaos on this continent. And if you think about,
I'd say because we came from the Enlightenment, we still think we're enlightened.
Yeah, but the point I'm making is like China was also in the warring states, and that also lasted hundreds of years. It didn't just end in one generation. It went on for hundreds of years. until like the coming of the Han Empire. And it was built on Confucian thought, similar to how Europe tried building itself on Christian thought, right?
Yeah, I mean, I know about the War and States period. I mean, I've played a lot of Dynasty Warriors, so
That's
I
not
know
really
you.
the Warring States.
No, I've
That's the Three Kingdoms, right?
Oh yeah, no, yeah. War States is the Japanese one. So I played Samurai Warriors, but
Same with Jedi.
I have read a fair bit of it. And there's I mean, yeah, there was it was like a lot of families tearing each other apart as well, wasn't there? Because they were all falling. But I mean, when you look at it, what's a nation supposed to be except other than a very extended family? And
That is exactly how the Confucian looked at it.
yeah, and you're supposed to. I didn't know that actually, but yeah. I mean, obviously, you bring it down lower and lower. So it's like you got the nation, then you got like the counties or the states, depending on where you are. Various neighborhoods, maybe your street, then the family. So it's like the concentric circles again. It's like the heat map. So you've got that, but then a lot of the time, especially in this day and age, you're getting a lot of these the nation's torn apart and fighting against itself.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the reason you said it's like why don't we call it a dark age is because no time period is ever going to call itself the dark age. I mean, do you think the people in the dark ages actually called it the dark ages?
That was the irony. It's kind of like we can't see that we live in a dark age right now due to the nature of us living in this current time period.
Yeah, but we'll probably look. Historians will probably look at this in 100 years or so. Like, yeah, that was either a very turbulent age or it was an outright dark age.
Yeah, because just to put it in perspective, right, the Warring States period in China lasted around 250 years.
The Warring States was Japan.
Yeah, but I'm talking about China.
Well, you talking about the Three Kingdoms or the different wars?
No, I'm talking about the Warring States of China.
Okay.
This was like 475 BC. This is a very long time ago. This is the time of Confucian.
Yeah, no, that's before when I
know.
Okay,
I know. Like this is the time of Confucian. So Confucian is about 2,500 years ago. Just to put it, like think of the ancient Greeks. That's the period I'm talking about.
Okay.
And the Warring States of China was a period where Confucius himself was often in like argument with like ministers and like people in power, by saying like you can't keep going like this. Like if you keep going like this, it's just going to be unhealthy. Like we'll collapse. Like, and he kept doing that, and eventually he just gave up and he started trying to teach just young ones. And they actually wanted to listen to him. And then he opened schools, and he actually tried to teach what he was trying to like shape China to be, which eventually became the dominant philosophy of the nation. Like Chinese philosophy stems from Confucianism, similar to how European philosophy stems from the ancient Greeks and Christianity. Like a lot of European law, for example, stems from the Roman Empire, which stems from philosophy. Like it's something that gets grown over time, over thousands of years. It's something that we make the rules, and from the rules we continue.
Right.
And it all starts with the family. Like, what do you want the family to be? We decided that the family itself is oppression. That is what the modern ideology has done. The mother and the father are a oppression over the child, and the child needs to be free. It's a patriarchy and a matriarchy in a family household. So you don't have mother and father anymore. You have birthing parent 1 and 2.
Yeah,
that is how they're practed.
It's always about that they're obsessed with power dynamics. Everything
yes
got to be exactly equal. But if you look at any relationship, barely any relationship out there is entirely equal. There's always some imbalance, but that is seen as a bad thing by these people.
Mm-hmm.
Every time.
The result of like removing a proper father and mother figure gives you these archetypes. So if you think about China during those times, you had a lot of people that were either golems or predators because they would just go into the army and fight. And those are the types that you want to motivate. And it was all about conquering and conquest, like a lot of famine as well, food issues, quite normal, like the Roman Empire had as well, right?
Well, I mean, look at the Nazis. They drafted a lot of people into the army because
the Freikorps was a good place for golems and predators as well.
Yeah,
like it's a very vicious cycle when the family is not in control. And China has gone back to the family, knowing that the past 100 years have not necessarily been a mistake, because they have done a lot of good things during the communistic era. Like, I have to give credit where it's due. Like we spoke about the Lotus Feet, for example, in previous episodes. Like, there have been a lot of things that were very bad in Chinese tradition that have been removed and replaced with something that's more healthy. And that is like a good way of solving it. But that's like what I say, right? Like, it's like curing a headache by decapitation.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, it works.
Yeah, it's one way to solve the problem, but the end result is catastrophic.
Yeah, I mean,
And China has understood that and keeps running.
like literally the cure is worse than the disease.
Yeah, but Confucian philosophy is also about learning from past mistakes, building on past mistakes, and creating a stronger future.
Well,
And this was...
No, go on, finish, go on.
It's the same in my country. The literal motto of the Netherlands is "Ik zal handhaven," which quite literally means "I will maintain."
Right.
Yeah, you've said that before, yeah.
Yeah, it's literally to steward. That's the whole point of this nation, because without stewarding, we're going under the water.
I mean, that's what what conservatism is supposed to be.
Yeah, but it's also because if you look at the Netherlands over the past 400 years, not necessarily with enlightenment, but we've always been very progressive when it comes to taking care of our own. Like, when it comes to, for example, hierarchy, the Netherlands is very open to just straight up telling your boss he's wrong, which is a good thing. That's what you want. You want to be capable of telling your boss he's wrong. You still need to be able to prove that. Otherwise, of course, you do need some level of respect, because if you're just going to say he's wrong without, knowing why he's wrong, that's another issue. But if you know he's wrong, he's explained to him why he's wrong, then the boss is supposed to be able to take that criticism and use that to build something bigger.
Ideally, yeah.
Yeah, but that is the good way of like getting rid of hierarchy. But in the end, a decision has to be made, and that is where a hierarchy comes back into the play. Like, a good example for that was in like a few decades ago, like I don't know how many years, but it was a McLaren team came into a hospital. I think it takes place this last episode as well. But like a McLaren team came into a hospital because the hospital surgeon team had too many issues. There were like errors and stuff being done within the surgeon room, and they asked the Formula One pit crew for advice. And the first thing they told them was, you need a hierarchy, you need a clear leader. You need someone that says, this is what we're going to do, and you roll with it. Because if you don't have...
that's why you get project leads, that kind of thing.
Yeah, but like in a operation room, to not have that is just chaos. Like, it's... and that's exactly what it was. There were too many problems in like who does what, because you didn't want a hierarchy, and without a hierarchy, you're never going to have structure. So you do need some level of hierarchy.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like you say, project managers, that kind of thing, because they are the ones who ultimately in charge. They're the ones who say, yeah, this goes on, and a good one will take on field. It's like captain of a ship,
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so
if the ship sinks, he takes responsibility.
Yeah, but it's like, so they're going to be the one who runs the ship, delegate all the tasks, but a good captain will actually take from feedback and criticism from the crew. If one of the crew says, okay, we've got a problem here, we need to do something about it, a good captain will be like, okay, well, let's see what the problem is, and we'll see what we can do.
Like, if you think about politics, like obviously they've completely eliminated the family, because a dysfunctional family is easy to control. That's obviously a good reason for maintaining power. But the thing about politicians themselves, it's all about no accountability and just saying the right thing, the ridiculous.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like where we are. We're in the same stages of the late stage of civilizational collapse that the Roman Empire was in. And undoing it, I mean, it needs a drastic change. It starts with the family. After that, it also starts with the individual. Like, so you need two fixes: the family, the individual, and what you want to teach those. Then once you've done that, you need to fix the institutions. Then once you've done that, you need to fix all the bureaucracy. Well, thankfully, AI is going to take care of a lot of that, because a lot of people need to be fired. There are so many people that have bureaucratic jobs that have absolutely no business being there. They're just being a parasite to the system, blood leeching in order to get some money to keep their job. And
they also have insane amounts of power. They can actually affect things that wreck other people's lives.
Yeah. And that has been basically my entire project, right? Like, everything I write about is about these things, like going to the depths of things, going to the overall sources of things. Like, the source obviously has been for me the French Revolution. That's kind of where the problem started. The Napoleon Wars, and then from the World Wars to eventually me being born, finding out why things haven't gone the way they should have been going with the health system, economy. Like I'm going back to international business. I'm going to study international business and actually go to the roots of economics, figuring all that out, talking about it in a podcast, writing books about it. That's kind of like where we're at, right?
Yeah, get something done
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I guess you can only learn, you can only do something if you learn about it at the end of the day. So,
Well, it's
important to
wanting to better yourself. A lot of people are just content to stay where they are. I mean,
Yeah.
look at us doing this, for example. It's we're in a small way, we're trying to make a difference. It's more than what some people do.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of people are just willing to sit down and,
Or just stick
just
the
sit
head,
there.
just stick the head in the
Yeah.
water.
Yeah. And I'm guilty of it myself. I can't sit here and say that I'm
I've,
not.
been- I've, yeah, we've all been guilty of it
Yeah.
at some point. I mean,
Yeah.
no one's immune from it. Anyone who says that they've never been like that is a liar.
This episode of the podcast is sponsored by my book, We Stand on the Shoulders of Titans, Amnesia.